Hey guys, here's level 2 of 5 gymnastic skills you can do in your house while self-isolating during COVID-19!
I'm a gymnasta, I do gymnastics. Wouldn't you like to do gymnastics?
Now we were going to do 5 gymnastic skills for your backyard, but it's a little snowy.
If you're feeling a little bit stiff and you need a warm-up, go ahead and go to our COVID conditionings playlist with our warm-ups linked in there before you try these out. All right, as always, we're gonna warm up our wrists first, just to add on to the warm-up that you guys have already done. So we're gonna take our hands, we're gonna roll them in a circle, both directions, as if you're holding your phone on your forearm and you're trying not to drop it. After that, we're just gonna explain this to you because you've seen it in the last 2 videos. You're gonna put your hands on the ground like this and rock back and forth on them. Then you're gonna turn them backwards, rock back on them. Then you're going to put them together, roll in a circle, and then finally you're going to flip them over like you're showing off your pretty nails and rock back and forth on top of them. Alright, our first skills today are meant to be super simple and kind of quick to go through because we have a skill at the end that's going to take us quite a while. So this is going to be fairly speedy. We're going to try some things today called fundamental movement patterns, or FMPs. These are just some of the basic things we make sure that we do with everybody to help them develop all kinds of different coordination and physical literacy. Physical literacy is just basically making your body smarter and better at learning things in general. So we're just giving it all kinds of different movements and patterns it has to understand with all different parts of your body so that in general, you're just better at moving. That's what we want to help you guys with. The first skill we're going to try is called bear walk. It's almost the exact same as QM that we learned earlier on. It's just a little bit of a different position and it doesn't rely exactly on perfectly moving your opposite limbs at the same time. Okay, so Jared's going to show you that. You're going to try and first of all do this with your legs bent. Okay, and you're just going to walk forward on your hands and feet. The idea here is to keep your bum up in the air and keep your shoulders and fingertips strong. If you want to make it a little bit more difficult, you can do what Jared's doing and do it with straight legs instead. And then your bum kind of like bounces around this way. Next up, we're going to try crab walk. Okay, pay attention to Jared's hands. They are going to be no more than sideways. They never turn backwards. That's how we risk breaking our arms in any kind of movement like this. So instead, we're going to keep them forwards, or at least a little bit sideways, just like crab hands. The idea here is to keep your bum off the ground while you're walking around. You can go forwards, backwards, sideways, doesn't matter. This is hilarious, by the way, to try doing up the stairs. Doing it down the stairs, super easy, but go ahead and give this a try. If any of you actually manage to crab walk up your stairs, please send us a video of it. Finally, for the last of our fundamental movement patterns, or FMPs, we are going to try a log roll. So you're just going to go as totally straight as you can. This is training you for better handstands and cartwheels, things that are upside down, as well as our jumping takeoffs. You're going to make sure that your whole body is straight, your toes are pointed, your fingers are tightened together just like this, and the hands are facing each other. And then you're going to try and roll. You want to move against the wall, and then you have more room to roll. You're going to try and roll without ever touching your hands or your feet to the ground while keeping your legs together. I'll show you again from another angle. All right, next up, we're going to try a cartwheel. So you're going to start with both feet pointing one direction, and then you're going to put your hands on one side pointing perpendicular, so that just means instead of straight forward, they're going to point to the right or to the left, and when you finish, Jared's feet will point back where he just came from. So he started over here, and his toes are now pointing, his toes and his belly button and his hips are all pointing back where he came from. Make sure to try this the way Jared's doing it, where you try going both directions. So this time his hands are on his left side of his body, and now he's coming back with his hands on his right side of his body. You will find one of these easier. You might not be like super decisive on which one it is, but you'll find one of them easier and try and decide which one that is early on, and you'll stick with that one for now. Now you're going to do exactly the same thing, but you're going to kick off of one foot at a time. It's always going to be the foot farthest away from your hands. So for instance, if Jared puts his hands on the left, his right foot is going to kick first and probably kick me in the face. I'm going to hide now. When you finish, you still want to try and have both feet pointing back where you came from. Now Jared will try it from this side. His hands are on the right, which means he's going to kick with his left foot first. If you're finding trouble getting all the way around, you can start already turned slightly towards where your hands are going to go. So if you notice, Jared's feet were diagonally pointed at the wall that time instead of pointing straight forward where he was going. As you find it gets easier and easier, then you can start pointing yourself directly at the wall where you're traveling. I'm sitting in the wrong place, this is scary. Now we're going to try almost a full cartwheel, but this time we're going to do it in a curve. So your belly button's going to start pointing at the wall you've always been pointing at. Your hands are going to go off to one side at the top of that rainbow curve, and your feet are going to end up back at the bottom of the rainbow. Now you notice in this shot and in the next shot where I'm demonstrating the cartwheel, Jared and I are too tall to do this at full extension, so you can go ahead and totally try this with straight legs. However, we are going to leave it with slightly bent legs so that we don't blow a hole in the roof. If you notice you're having trouble at the very end, make sure your belly button is pointing back where you came from. Lots of people turn outwards at the end of their cartwheel, so they face where they were already pointing. So for instance, I'm the beginning of this cartwheel and Jared's the ending of the cartwheel. If I'm facing the same way both times, that's not okay. When we want to finish, we want our ending point to be pointing back where we just came from. This will make it a lot easier, especially if you're not as flexible as we are, to still finish that cartwheel without falling over. Jared's chest is pointing towards me, and now his chest is pointing back where he just was. Okay, final version of the cartwheel. I'm going to demonstrate this one because I'm a bit shorter than Jared, so I can cartwheel with almost straight legs down here. We do have some room to do this, so I'm going to go out of frame, but that's okay. What we're looking for here is we want hips and everything to point forwards. My toes, my hips, my chest, my face, my nose, everything is pointing forwards. And when I finish, I'm going to end up facing backwards. I'm not going to go in sideways like this. I'm going to go in like we're starting our handstand, and then I'm going to turn sideways as I go down. If you want, you can work up to this by making it just a little bit less of a rainbow every time. So start with a big rainbow, and then a smaller one, and then a smaller one until you're going straight down the line. I'm going to start forwards, and I'm going to end backwards, and not kick the ceiling. We hope. For these next few skills, we're going to practice as if we are using a beam. So if you've never done gymnastics before, one of our apparatus that we use is we're going to make a beam. It's a line. So we're going to use a piece of tape. If you have painter's tape at home, works really well on either hard floor or on carpet. Either way, it doesn't usually leave anything behind. Make sure to ask your parents before laying this line down, but it should work. We don't have any painter's tape, so we're using a really bad duct tape. Alright, so this technique is the exact same as in our first video when we were doing tuck jump, pike jump, and straddle jump, or our shape jumps on the ground. All we're going to do is change slightly how your feet work. So we're going to show you that now, how you're going to land, and then we'll explain how you do these jumps on the beam. So if you look at Jared's feet right now, he is tucking the ball of his one foot into the arch of the other. Okay, I'll show you the same thing, but with bare feet so you can see both. So if we squish them nice and close together, side by side here, we're able to land nice and easily on something really thin. So we're going to end up jumping and landing just like this. Other than that, these are the exact same skills that you did in the past. So we're going to start with tuck jump, same swing, same grab. We're just going to take off and land with your feet like this. So we're just going to start with a straight jump first. Just jump in the air a little bit. Make sure to bend your knees in lining here. You still want your arms out, but you won't be able to spread your knees out obviously the way they were before. They'll stay side by side. Make sure to try this with one foot in front and the other foot in front. It's good to be good at both. So first up, we're going to try tuck jump, and then a pike jump, and then finally straddle jump. Really paying attention to making sure you're doing the same landing for the beam here, which is hard, especially with straddle jump. I want to get kicked. Oh, nice. You can also try half turn and full turn on your little improvised beam. Jared's just going to show you half turn for now. Next up, we're going to try actual turns on beam. So we're going to try a pivot turn and a pirouette. But before we get there, we're going to practice just walking on the beam on your toes. The beam being your line on the floor. It does help to think of yourself as very pretty. It does make you taller. Oh. Ah. Pretty. If you can walk with your arms above your head, even better. However, we will punch the ceiling while we do this. We're looking for arms here and turned in just a little bit. And you can make fancy fingers if you want as well. I'm pretty sure I'm doing them wrong, but something like this. Alright, now we're going to try our pivot turn. The way this works is you're going to start with one foot forward, go up on your toes, and then turn towards the foot that's behind you. And if he wants to turn back, same thing, he'll turn towards the foot that's behind him. Once that's too easy, you'll try starting at the beginning of your beam, and you'll take one step forward, go up on your toes, and pivot turn, again towards the back foot. Now take one step back, up on your toes, and this time when you pivot turn, you'll be pivot turning to the same direction. So that's how you can continuously walk down your beam and try these out. Again, if you can do these with your arms up, just looks a little bit nicer, a little bit fancier. Next up, we're going to try pirouettes. First, we're going to learn how to spot while twisting though. So we're going to start by looking straight at you guys. You can look right for us. And what you're going to do is you're just going to spin in a circle and try and watch us for as long as you can. Just keep your eyes right on us. So notice each time Jared keeps on turning, he quickly switches his head around to the other side so we can see you as soon as possible. Try this both directions to see which one you like better. Again, everybody has a dominant twist direction, so there's one that you'll probably like at least a little bit better. After that, we're going to try the pirouette itself, and then we'll try it on the beam. So, you're going to put one foot in front of you, and then your arms are going to point to the other side. So Jared's left foot is in front of him, so his arms are going to point towards me on his right. And then what you're going to do is two things at the same time. You are going to lift the right leg, or the leg that's behind you, up to this position. So we'll just start with that. So here, and then back up. And then the other thing you're going to do is your arms are going to go from beside you to up, facing this way. There we go. Fancy fingers. Jared will keep his arms low. What we are trying to do either way is we are trying to make sure that we lift them up just a little bit so that our twist goes up through our head instead of off to one side, like we talked about in our half turns and full turns. So now he's going to lift the leg up. He's going to twist towards the front leg and just turn around and face the other wall. When you finish, just like Jared just did, try and step forwards out of the pirouette. If you're a dancer, by the way, we know this is odd and it isn't the regular turn that you're trying to do, but this is what we usually do when we're working pirouettes on beam. After that, you can try a full pirouette. Same thing, use your spotting while you do this. And when you're finished, you step forwards out of it. Our final version of this is to try it on the beam. You can try half pirouette or full. Jared's going to give full a try right away because he's never done it before, and we're just going to see how it goes. Alright, before we get into trying this skill at all, make sure you have mastered handstand and forward roll from the last video. If you haven't, no worries, but work on those until you are comfortable with both of them before doing this, as it's literally a combination of the two of them. Nice. Alright, this one is important. If you're trying this for the first time, which most of you will be, you need to make sure you have at least a pillow, and probably a line of pillows, which we'll show you in a second, to roll onto. You can also try it onto a mattress, that would be even better. We're going to eventually show it to you on the carpet. I would suggest not going any farther than carpet. We were just trying it on the carpet down here and it was already still a little bit uncomfortable, so at least throw it on a blanket, and if you're on hard floor, you need to put down a heavy blanket for that. Otherwise you will, well, you may not hurt yourself, but you definitely could. Before you go any further with this, we're going to review the handstand drills from our last video, just to quickly go through them, and make sure you warm up by trying these out. So the first one we practiced was standing in a straight line with somebody pushing down on you. Jared will go down onto his knees for this so you can see a little bit better. Remember, we're looking for tight, strong line in our ribs so we're not sticking them out, and making sure that our arms are nice and straight in line. And then somebody will push down either in front or behind you, and make sure that you are lifting with the muscles in your shoulders and your forearms. Everything is lined up and muscular. You're not using any bones to just take the weight. The next one is a piked handstand. Right now you can see that Jared's feet are at the same height as his butt. And here you can see that he is directly underneath his butt. So as much as possible, his shoulders and head are in line. He's looking at the ground through his eyebrows, but he's not sticking his head out or arching his back. The next drill from the last video was lifting one foot up at a time in this piked handstand. So just getting used to having one leg up, just like that. Next, you work your handstand up against the wall, just like this, about within 10 or 15 degrees of full handstand. Oops. After that, as you get more comfortable, remember to start working yourself closer and closer until your stomach is just about on the wall. And whenever you come down to practice the bails we talked about, Okay, so you're gonna go up into your full handstand, and when you're coming down, as you're slowly working closer and closer, you're gonna make sure to drop your feet down one side or the other. Remember to try dropping them down the side that you like better, but try both. If you can make it more of a cartwheel motion down instead of 2 feet dropping down, that's even better, but 2 feet dropping down onto your feet is fine. Next up is donkey kicks, digging in your fingers, keeping your arms strong, and then try them off on one foot. And come down onto the same foot that you left on the ground. These ones are called teeter-totters now. Remember to really dig your fingers in for this next one. You do the teeter-totter, you kick just a little bit harder, and you snip your legs together. Still never hitting over 15 degrees of your handstand. And then finally, you do your handstand with your back against the wall with the same kick and snip your legs together. Remember to be just a little bit away with your hands so that nothing is touching but your heels. So now we're going to build our pillow line on the ground, and then we're going to try a bunch of drills working up to the handstand roll. Okay, so you're going to put your hands on both sides of the pillows if you can. And then what you're going to do is you're going to kick just a little bit into a forward roll. So it's almost the same as our other one, it's just instead of your toes being together as you take off, sorry, your feet being together, you're going to kick one foot into the air and then turn it into a roll. If you notice as Jared does this, his arms are strong and holding straight for just a bit longer than normal in our forward roll, and then they bend right away afterwards. But for a moment he holds them strong and then ducks out of the way. As you've already seen Jared doing, you then slowly take this higher and higher, but make sure, just like him right now, you're keeping your head tucked in. Right now, you can now add in a spot if you would like, because this is the moment when you want to start looking at the ground for a little bit and then getting your head out of the way. You need to kick to make sure you're going to make it over, but you are allowed to look at the ground for just a little bit. You want to kick hard enough though that no matter what, you're going to make it over and then tuck into a ball. If you'd like to add the spot, we'll show you what that looks like. So your spotter is going to be on your kicking foot side, so Jared's going to kick with his left foot. You're going to start near the ground, because what we're going to do is we're actually going to catch their feet and help lift them over. And you don't want to be up here, because then you have to somehow catch their foot, and often you'll actually get near kicked in the face, which is not what we want for you guys. So instead what you'll do is you can actually start with your hand already on their leg, right on their thigh, near their knee, and then you can just help lift them up into this as they kick that leg. And then whenever they're ready, they can duck their head and roll. And your job as the spotter is to make sure that as long as their arms are strong, you're helping them carry over the top. But if they happen to bend a bit too early, we don't want anybody to land on their head. And now that we're looking at the ground, we don't want to land like this. So we're giving them the amount of time they need to look at the ground and then duck their head out of the way. So we'll see that one more time, but this time Jared will loosen his arms and look like he's going to drop to the ground, and I'll just hold on to him. So he'll kick up normally. So I'm holding him here, and then he goes for his roll, but he's a little bit too soft, so I hold him up a bit longer until he ducks his head out of the way. The only way that this can be a problem is if we drop into that scorpion position. So it's very important that you get really good at the handstand drills beforehand so that there's no real reason that you would ever do that. But then you have your spotter in place just in case so that you can duck your head out of the way if you forget. Before you try this final handstand roll tip over, you need to now review kicking into handstand, but adding in your cartwheel bail. So we'll show you what that means. It's just for the moment when you haven't tipped quite far enough or you're not sure about the roll, and instead you can just turn sideways and step down into a cartwheel. So I'm going to kick up into my handstand and on purpose fall a little too far, which is what we want for a handstand roll, but then I'm going to pretend that I'm not ready for it. What we don't want is this. I'm going to have to kick off the stairs a little bit. What we don't want is here and collapsing our shoulders out of the way, because all that's going to do is teach us that whenever we're about to roll, we're instead just going to collapse our shoulders, which is not going to protect our head. Instead, we're just going to turn it into a cartwheel. So same as you tried down the wall earlier. This is weird. You're going to fall forwards, and then you're going to move one of your hands a little bit out of the way. So for instance, I like to cartwheel and drop my feet to the left more. So I'm just going to move my left hand right out of the way, and I'm just going to cartwheel down the side. All right, here's the view of my feet. Same thing, I'm going to move my left hand out of the way and drop my feet down the left side. Make sure you have room on either side of you to do this. I can keep this in the middle, but for instance, if I was just trying this, I wouldn't do it so close to this wall or I would probably kick the wall. All right, finally, if you've gotten all the way to this point and your spotter, or just you on your own, are getting to the point where you're almost upside down and then you're rolling, you can now get to the point where on the On the pillow line, you kick all the way to full handstand, then you start to fall over past handstand, and then you duck. It is very important here to make sure that you are rolling with the closest thing to the ground first. So just like when we jump on the ground, we hit with our toes first, and then our heels, and then our ankles bend, and then our knees, and then our hips. We work our way from the ground up. It's the same with a handstand. When we're rolling, we start with our elbows, and then our shoulders, and then we tuck in our head, and then we bend each piece of our spine until we've curled on the ball, and then our legs. Most people fall straight over, and they bend their legs first, which just makes them flop on the ground really hard, so we don't want that. Make sure that you're bending things in order of which is closest to the ground. Make sure not to try this on anything off of carpet that is as soft as you should be going to. I guess grass counts for kind of the same thing, but there's no need to do this on anything harder than that. And if you are working on hard floors, make sure that you're keeping the pillows or the heavy blankets, and especially if you have one, make sure you're keeping the mattress down there. It'll help you really be confident in your technique, and it'll keep you safe from, if you accidentally fall and bail out, it'll keep you safe from crashing too hard. Finally, we're going to show you the handstand roll. So watch, Jared will kick up, he's going to fall past handstand, and then bend things in order of which is closest to the ground to smooth this out.
Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed level 2 of gymnastic skills you can do in your house. If you're looking for a stretch out or some conditioning, you can check out the COVID conditionings up there. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next video. Bye!
Gymnastic. The gymnastic.